Your computer is watching you right now. Not in some distant sci-fi dystopia, not as a vague warning whispered on internet forums, but right this second, tonight, as the glow of your display reflects in your eyes. Every single website you navigate to, every private message you type out to someone you trust, every sensitive financial document you open, and every secure password you enter is being captured automatically, silently, without asking your permission even once. And the truly chilling realization is that this is not the work of an external hacker, nor is it a sophisticated malware infection or a rogue spyware virus dropped by a shady email attachment. This is the company whose operating system you have trusted for decades, the foundational software powering your professional career and your personal digital life. This is Microsoft. And this right here is where the entire story begins. The story of how your own personal computer quietly transformed into the most sophisticated surveillance device sitting inside your home. And more importantly, the story of the one exit door that still exists before that threshold closes permanently. Because there is an exit. There always has been. And it is completely free, entirely open, and runs effortlessly even on older hardware that Windows has already declared obsolete. It does not take secret screenshots of your workflow every few seconds. It does not require you to drop hundreds of dollars on an expensive new machine just to stay securely updated. And it gives back something you probably did not even realize you had lost along the way. Complete, absolute ownership of your own computer. That exit has a name. It is called Linux. And by the time this video concludes, you will understand exactly why millions of everyday users are walking through that door right now and why the window to do so freely is closing faster than most people realize. But first, you need to understand the true anatomy of the trap, because you cannot escape an enclosure you do not fully see. If you're new to Nolan Tech, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because we upload new tech videos regularly that help you stay ahead. Let us roll back the clock to when Microsoft first stepped onto a stage and unveiled a revolutionary feature they called Recall, describing it proudly as a photographic memory for your PC. The pitch sounded genuinely impressive on the surface because your computer would take automatic screenshots of your screen every few seconds, build a massively searchable database from those captured images using advanced local machine learning, and then let you search your entire digital history using plain, everyday language. You could ask your PC what specific web page you looked at 3 weeks ago, and it would surface the exact window instantly, like absolute magic. The live audience clapped enthusiastically, tech journalists published glowing articles, and Microsoft stock ticked upward, making everything seem completely fine until independent security researchers finally got their hands on early preview builds. Within days, the public reaction shifted from mild excitement to absolute horror because when security experts looked at what Recall was actually doing under the hood, what they found was not a helpful memory assistant, but one of the most invasive data collection features ever shipped inside a mainstream operating system. Here's what Recall was doing every single 3 to 5 seconds. Capturing a full, uncompressed screenshot of everything visible on your monitor. Your online banking sessions captured in high resolution. Your private encrypted chat conversations captured. Your sensitive business documents captured. And your passwords captured right along with them, because Recall did not bother to filter out confidential input fields. Microsoft themselves confirmed this reality in their own technical documentation, stating explicitly that Recall does not perform real-time content moderation and will not mask or hide information such as passwords, banking details, or financial account numbers. Read that sentence again slowly and let the implications sink deep into your mind. Your own computer, the hardware sitting on your desk that you paid hard-earned money to own, was taking continuous photographs of your credentials and storing them inside an unencrypted database on your local hard drive, located in a directory that any piece of malware or secondary user with limited system access could potentially harvest in a single automated sweep. Months of your entire digital existence, every site visited, every private message sent, every financial transaction executed, sitting in one centralized, easily accessible database. Cybersecurity analysts compared Recall directly to info stealer malware, the exact type of malicious software that criminal syndicates designed specifically to scrape saved browser credentials. Major technology publications described it as unrequested, pre-installed spyware built directly into modern Windows machines. Privacy advocacy groups mobilized immediately, launching formal regulatory inquiries and forcing competing applications to build defensive shields into their own software. The public backlash was so intense, so unified, and so fiercely angry that Microsoft had to repeatedly postpone, delay, and eventually re-engineer the feature to be strictly opt-in. But that forced concession does not change the core reality. The fact that Microsoft designed this system in the first place, that their executive leadership thought this level of intrusion was acceptable, and that their long-term vision for personal computing involves your screen being photographed thousands of times every single day. That is their ultimate vision, and it serves as a terrifying preview of where mainstream operating systems are heading next. To understand how deliberate this entire trajectory is, you only need to look closely at what happened with Windows 10 and its official end-of-life milestone. When routine security patches stopped flowing and corporate support officially ceased, the millions of machines left behind were not old, broken, struggling pieces of junk destined for a recycling center. Independent market analysis firms estimated that nearly 240 million personal computers were running Windows 10 wonderfully well for daily tasks, yet they were blocked from upgrading to Windows 11 simply because they lacked a specific hardware security chip called TPM 2.0 that Microsoft suddenly decided to mandate overnight. Many of these stranded computers were only 4 or 5 years old, packed with fast solid-state drives, generous amounts of memory, and highly capable multi-core processors. They handled web browsing, software development, writing, and multimedia creation effortlessly. Yet because they failed an arbitrary corporate checklist, they were declared electronically dead. Millions of everyday consumers were forced to either purchase brand new hardware or pay for recurring extended security subscriptions, transforming what should have been a durable appliance into an ongoing financial liability. This is what a locked technological ecosystem looks like when it reaches its mature phase. You do not actually own your computer anymore. You merely rent access to it, and the rental fees increase strictly on the corporation's schedule rather than your own. Right behind this forced obsolescence wave lies the next hardware squeeze, with leaked internal documents revealing that future iterations of Windows will demand neural processing units with extreme performance metrics, effectively stranding another massive wave of perfectly functional hardware. If you're enjoying this video and finding it useful, take a second to like the video and subscribe to Nolan Tech. It really helps the channel and lets us keep making detailed tech content like this. Yet, while all of this frustration, consumer backlash, and manufactured obsolescence has been unfolding across the mainstream tech landscape, something else has been quietly growing in a corner of the internet that corporate journalism frequently ignores. Linux has been expanding faster than at any point in its history. Global desktop market share has climbed steadily year after year, crossing significant milestones across North America and surging into double digits in major developing economies where students, developers, and institutions look for dependable, unencumbered software. Government bodies in Europe are actively migrating tens of thousands of official public workstations away from proprietary operating systems and onto Linux to ensure true digital sovereignty and protect citizen data. Critical global infrastructure, including the world's largest web servers, enterprise cloud environments, financial transaction networks, and every single one of the top 500 supercomputers already runs entirely on Linux. Even gaming, the one arena where Linux was historically dismissed as completely unviable, has undergone a staggering revolution. Valve's Steam platform has recorded impressive growth among Linux gamers, supercharged by incredible compatibility layers like Proton that allow demanding Windows games to run seamlessly without modification, alongside dedicated hardware like the Steam Deck that has introduced millions of mainstream players to a robust, open gaming environment. These users quickly discovered that modern Linux simply works and works exceptionally well, without constantly reporting telemetry back to a corporate server. To understand why a growing wave of users is making the switch, you have to look past the myths and understand what Linux actually represents at its philosophical core. For someone who has spent their entire digital life inside Windows, Linux is an operating system built on an entirely different set of principles. Windows is a commercial product owned by a single megacorporation that dictates what it costs, what features it forces onto your screen, and when it stops supporting your hardware. Linux, by contrast, is a collaborative global project built by tens of thousands of independent developers, academic institutions, and major hardware manufacturers working together on a transparent code base that nobody owns and everyone is free to utilize. The Linux kernel stands today as one of the most rigorously tested, highly secure, and battle-hardened pieces of software ever written. The frustrating era of needing to type complex terminal commands just to configure a wireless network card is a distant memory. Today's leading Linux distributions install just as smoothly as any commercial operating system. You download an installation image, flash it onto a USB drive, follow a clean graphical installer, and your machine is fully configured within minutes. Hardware drivers install automatically, wireless networks connect instantly, audio and Bluetooth peripherals function right out of the box, and you are greeted by a modern, responsive desktop interface. The software ecosystem is equally mature, featuring intuitive application stores where you can install popular web browsers, media suites, productivity tools, communication platforms, and gaming clients with a single click. Performance is another area where Linux genuinely shocks people making the transition for the first time. Because the operating system does not carry the immense background weight of continuous telemetry services, intrusive AI assistants, and endless forced background updates, your hardware feels instantly revitalized. Older laptops that felt sluggish and frustrating under modern Windows receive a remarkable second wind, running cooler, faster, and with noticeably better battery efficiency. You regain absolute control over your machine, free from mandatory features you never asked for, and background processes harvesting your personal data. Of course, maintaining complete honesty means acknowledging that Linux is not a magical cure-all that solves every specialized software requirement for every single user without exception. There are genuine structural limitations that you should evaluate before making a permanent transition. If your professional career or daily workflow relies entirely on native Microsoft Office desktop applications featuring complex macros, or industry-standard creative software suites from Adobe like Photoshop, Premiere Pro, or After Effects, you will find that these exact applications lack native Linux versions. While powerful open-source alternatives exist, such as LibreOffice for heavy documentation, and DaVinci Resolve for professional Hollywood-grade video editing, adapting to a new software environment requires patience and a willingness to adjust your workflow. Similarly, while gaming has advanced remarkably, competitive multiplayer titles that rely on aggressive kernel-level anti-cheat software built exclusively for Windows will not run on Linux. Hardware compatibility, while vastly superior to past decades, still warrants a quick check for specialized niche peripherals or older unsupported printer models. Finally, there's the natural adjustment period. Breaking habits formed over a decade or two of navigating a specific operating system means that the first couple of weeks will involve a slight learning curve as you discover where system settings are located and how background maintenance routines operate. But when you weigh these minor transition hurdles against the heavy financial, privacy, and control costs of remaining locked inside the Windows ecosystem, the equation changes dramatically. You are no longer just comparing software interfaces. You are weighing your personal freedom and financial predictability against an aggressive corporate model that views your personal hardware as an advertising billboard and your daily habits as raw data to be monetized. The path toward digital independence begins with a simple, honest assessment of your everyday computing habits. If your routine consists of web browsing, streaming high-definition media, checking email, drafting documents, participating in video calls, and organizing photo libraries, Linux handles all of those tasks brilliantly out of the box. If you are an avid gamer, checking community compatibility databases for your favorite Steam titles will reveal that the vast majority of modern games run with flawless performance. If you depend on specialized professional software for work, a dual boot configuration allows you to keep a partitioned Windows environment exclusively for those tools while utilizing Linux for everything else. Choosing your first distribution is straightforward, with beginner-friendly options offering familiar layouts, complete with traditional taskbars, application menus, and system trays that mirror what you already know. You can test everything safely using a live USB drive without altering a single file on your existing hard drive, letting you verify hardware compatibility and explore the interface with zero risk. The steady migration away from Windows is no longer a niche hobby for programmers in darkrooms. It has become an essential conversation for anyone who values digital autonomy. When software providers treat your personal hardware as a rental property and your screen as a data capture canvas, taking back control is the most rational step you can make. The tools are mature, the community is welcoming, and your computer can finally belong to you once again. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe to Nolan Tech, and turn on notifications so you never miss future tech videos. What's the first Windows setting you're going to change after watching this video?